Hello everybody, this is AK. I'm back. So in recent videos, I have sounded pretty optimistic about DBS, OCBC and UOB, and I also said that I believe they will continue to bring home the bacon and meaningful portions of bacon at that. Right, so I thought I should make a follow-up video uh, just in case people think that the banks could do no wrong and dump everything, including the kitchen sink, into their stocks. And what worries me is that some people might be 100% invested in the local banks and nothing else at the current prices, right? Why do I say that? Because if we have gotten in, let's say, like in 2016, when I first got in at $13 or $14 a share, then we have a significant margin of safety, right? Even if we have gotten in, let's say, later on during the COVID-19 pandemic at, say, $19 a share, we would also have a pretty significant margin of safety, right? At today's prices, I've said that valuations are fair and the banks are still looking inexpensive. So buying at today's prices isn't such a bad idea, right? Like Warren Buffett said before, it's better to own a wonderful business at a fair price than to own a fair business at a wonderful price, right? So I think buying the stocks of the local banks today would be paying a fair price for a wonderful business. But of course, Mr. Market doesn't care about what AK thinks and what anyone thinks for that matter. Mr. Market will do what Mr. Market will do, right? And so the market is pretty much sentiment driven. I think anyone who has been in the stock market long enough would know that. So for example, JP Morgan, right? I read that in a report that JP Morgan has an underwhelming outlook for its lending business, right? Even though its first quarter profits increased, right? The bank has provided guidance for net interest income to come down. So that has disappointed investors, and its share price actually plunged 6.5% last week. I think was on Friday. And they say that was their biggest one-day drop since June 2020, right? So the report says it reflected worries that the massive gains JP Morgan has made from higher interest rates in the past 2 years may have plateaued. And this isn't really news. I mean, it's not new to us because by now we have gotten the feeling that interest rates have peaked, right? So massive gains from higher interest rates may have plateaued. And JP Morgan lifted the full year guidance for net interest income, which is the difference between what it pays on deposits and what it earns from loans, outside of its trading business, to about $89 billion from an earlier forecast of about $88 billion. But the outlook for net interest income, they did not provide any upside, right? So basically it means that net interest income has plateaued, and the market probably was expecting even higher net interest income, so they sent the stock prices higher. But when this guidance came out, the stock price plunged, right? So the thing is, JP Morgan CEO Jamie Dimon also said that many economic indicators continue to be favorable. So this is good news for the banks. But he also said that looking ahead, we remain alert to a number of significant uncertain forces, pointing to an unsettling global landscape and a large number of persistent inflationary pressures. That's why in yesterday's video I said that expectations of interest rate cuts have been tempered recently, right? 4 interest rate cuts, then they thought 3 interest rate cuts, and now more and more people are thinking there might only be 2 interest rate cuts later on in the year, second half of the year. And because inflation isn't coming down to 2% in the US, right? And our expectations were 3.1% this year. So there might not even be any interest rate cut this year. Interest rate cuts might only happen next year, right? Who knows? No one has a working crystal ball, right? But Jamie Dimon says that there's a large number of persistent inflationary pressures, which is true. And this is going to be something that we investors in DBS, OCBC, and UOB should be cognizant of, right? Because like I said in yesterday's video, we import interest rate from the US, right? And interest rate stays elevated. Good news for the banks, but interest rate's not going up anymore. Interest rate seems to have peaked. So net interest income is not going to grow much more from here. And in fact, they might fall, right? So I say I remain optimistic about the local banks, DBS, OCBC, and UOB, especially if we have a good margin of safety. We can add at today's prices, but I think it will be more of nibbling and not gobbling. Definitely don't throw in everything, including the kitchen sink, because when Mr. Market throws a tantrum, it's very sudden and prices can plunge very quickly, right? So we want to be ready for something like that. When it happens is when it happens. It's not if, it's when, right? It's just that we don't know when it'll happen, right? So buy with confidence, but with some caution as well, right? Be cautious, and if AK can talk to himself, so can you. Bye-bye.